Inked blessing.
And you're watching the fucking
DSP space gaming
news.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Den Style News Network, as we strive to bring you the most robust recaps and the most flavorful coverage of the King of Hate that we can. This week, the guy shits on the side scrollers once again, was forced into a marriage with the one and only Helsin in Baldur's Gate 3, finished like a guy, throws mad, belligerent shade at the CEOs of Ubisoft and Xbox, and generally behaves like a toxic nuisance. I appreciate y'all coming back, and without further ado, let's get into it.
Cybers TV says, honestly, a lot of the stuff you got hate for between 2013 and 16 has become the norm for streamers to do. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, I don't know. This has become the story. Everyone else can do anything and they're fine, but if I do anything, it's wrong. It doesn't matter what I do, what I say, how I act, if I improve or not. Doesn't matter. I'm just in the wrong and I'm always the villain. Because again, I've become the meme of the internet. Unfairly, I feel. I mean, listen. When I was younger, I was an idiot. I was an obstinate, stubborn jerk. I felt like my shit didn't stink. I didn't want to listen to any criticism or constructive or otherwise. Literally, I was just, hey, my way or the highway.
The thing about memes on the internet is that they generally have a very short lifespan. There are outliers like Phil who persist, but in his case it's not because it's still funny to bring him up over things that happened several years ago, like the incident. It's because he is constantly doing or saying something new and stupid that relates to a pattern of behavior that people have been following since his inception on the platform. If you didn't constantly let stupid shit slip past the rotting stubs that are your teeth, we wouldn't have anything to talk about.
Right? If you don't like it, don't watch. Fuck off. That was what I used to say, right? Now, I've changed for the better. I know that that's an awful attitude to have, and I want to improve. I want to make better content. I feel like I have improved dramatically. I think we're heading in the right direction with the content that I'm making, instead of it just being gameplay, doing other stuff and big variety, like this show, for example. You know? But, yeah, sadly, the internet doesn't care. The internet has an impression, rides this meme, and will never let it go. So it doesn't matter what I say, do to improve or not. I'm just a villain.
No, Phil, you're not a villain, and not a lot of detractors attempt to paint you as one. You have done some borderline, if not villainous things in the past, but as far as your character as a whole is concerned, you were simply a lolcow. You claim your content has improved over the years, but as someone who's watched your steady descent into madness over the course of the last 6 or 7 years, I can say without a doubt it is the same content, because you're still you. You can noise gate your content all you like, you can throw empty console boxes and artwork you drag out of the dumpster behind you all you want, but as a streamer your content is you, and you're the same toxic, stubborn, pig-headed individual you've always been. The last genuine improvement you made to your content was switching to direct capture, and even then you were insufferable about it. Whatever happened to that green screen you let decay in your garage that your fans were begging for several years back?
And again, any moment that I have to possibly get a fair shake, people use that to capitalize and just turn it back to negativity so they can benefit from it, because they realize if they bite into the meme, if they ride that negativity wave that's against me, they will get more views, contributions, and popularity than if they were nice to me. Can we be honest here? If the side scrollers last year were nice to me after their interview, they wouldn't have gotten any notoriety or popularity whatsoever. Instead, they did exactly what everyone else does. They took the easy way out. They became toxic trolls of mine. They literally rode that for weeks to months on end, and they got tons of popularity and contributions based off of it, and they used that to propel themselves to change their show, because now they had eyes on their show. They used that to propel themselves to be a political show. And now they just do that same polarized political bullshit that everyone else does on the internet. It's boring. It's very fucking outdone. It's for dullards. But that's what they do, and they get tons of views doing it, and it's all because they rode the wave of toxicity against me. Right? If they had been nice to me after the fact, they wouldn't have had any of that. And likely none of their popularity would have ever happened, because no one would have ever had eyes on their content. No one would have given a shit. Right?
One thing he clearly doesn't understand about the detractor community around him is that it will very rarely branch out into other content in a group fashion, especially not the side scrollers. People have attempted numerous times to gain a decent following making detractor content and then branch out into streaming or other forms of video content, only to find out that detractors are there to watch the madness that is DSP, not because of them or what they bring to the table. We operate as a filter for DSP because without the clipping channels, without the commentary community, without recaps, and without restreamers, Phil is impossible for anyone sane to listen to without physically harming your mental faculties. Not to mention, last I heard the side-scrollers weren't doing that great. Maybe better now that there's some drama going on, but that's whatever.
So there you have it. Doesn't matter what I say or do, you know? It's just, hey, as long as we're hurting Phil, we'll get that popularity out of it, so might as well just keep doing it, right? And again, the other big thing about this is that the other meme about me is that it doesn't matter what's said about me. It doesn't matter what's done to me. I still exist and persevere. I mean, the meme is that everyone else gets canceled. Everyone else goes out of business. Everyone else is gone, but Darkside Phil perseveres, right? Right? And I hate to say it, that as much of a meme as that is as perseverance, it's a double-edged sword. If people think that no matter what, you can't go away, they think it's okay to do anything to you because you're just going to survive it.
The meme about DSP being unkillable, or the pig roach as we know him, was based on the fact that he's been about as cancelled as he can be online, and somehow still manages to keep grifting enough money out of his audience to keep doing this, and make far more money than a standard 9-to-5 would. He has been flipping it to inflate his ego for the past few years or so. Now it's just malleable, to be used in whatever way he wants to fulfill whatever narrative he's trying to spin at the time. Given the context here, he's saying that we're making content about him because he won't go away. And that's true, but not the way he's trying to paint it. We're here because he's fun to laugh at, and lolcows are great documentation material. The community doesn't actually do anything to harm Phil. The things that harm him, that he is quote-unquote surviving, are the things he says and the actions he takes, but accuses the detractors because we have the gall to archive it in videos and on the farms.
Right? Because that's the truth. All these people say and do horrible things to me, but then I'm still here, I still persevere, right? I'm still here. So also it's fine, just keep beating them up. Right? It'd be like, so there's a guy who's literally invincible. You can't ever kill him. So just keep running up and stabbing him and shooting him and fucking ripping his limbs off because they're going to regrow him because he's immortal, right? So just keep fucking him up. Give him endless torture just because, you know, he'll survive it. I mean, does that make it right to do it? Of course it doesn't, but that's how people are against me. It's literally, it's an endless cycle of just keep fucking with Phil as much as you can because you can get away with it and he'll still be here anyway. Everyone's taking a shot, like literally over the years, every single content creator's taking a shot at it. It's a rarity when you find someone who doesn't take the easy shot at me.
So there we have it. The side-scrollers resurface from their cozy little loft they built for themselves in Phil's cerebellum. Detractors are doing the equivalent of torturing Phil based on some nondescript horrible things they're doing to him with no examples given. And every content creator out there has taken the easy shot at Phil. If you thought that was the last we were going to hear about the side-scrollers this week, you were dead wrong.
I cried when they told me I'd already lost one of my children.
Huh?
And now they were taking away another one, you understand?
Oh, for adoption. Here it comes. Or were they just selling them on the black market?
Oh!
Lost your family. Oh! So now hold on a second here. Now I've got the evidence. I've had enough. Contact Stuttering Craig, that motherfucker, right? Who a year ago during his interview was trying to tell me that I was making a racist joke during a playthrough that I made. I literally just made the same exact joke about children on the black market in 2010, and that was 12 years prior. It's the same joke. It has nothing to do with racism. Stuttering Craig is just a fucking asshole.
Yeah, so you know where this is going, and I want to watch this so we all understand what's going on here.
All right, boys, prepare the slave trade. We're selling her right off for profit.
Okay. Put the kid in the vehicle. Stay with her.
That's right. She's too valuable to escape. She's worth lots of money.
That's
okay.
fucked up. Is there things that go on that, like, in your head that might, because the way it sounds, like, it seems like you kind of just fly off the handle sometimes and do shit and say shit that you're, that gets you in trouble. Like, I mean, it almost feels like I need to be worried about you, dude. Like, what's going to happen next? You say you've changed, but, it turns out that racist video with the little girl was only like 7 months ago. It wasn't a year ago. That's pretty recent, dude.
You can say it's you can say it's racist. That was not what I was making a joke about.
Bro, I'm telling you, it doesn't matter. The internet thinks it's racist. I saw it, and it's fucking racist. So you're talking about a killer who's killing people in their basement, and then you're bringing up the slave, like sending a little girl off to the slave trade. I don't know. It's pretty obvious. All right. So I know you claim that it isn't, but it really did sound that way. But that's whatever.
All right. He fucking had to pick that shit and try to pull a race card on me during an interview when it had nothing to do with reality. It's literally the same fucking joke 12 years before. I just reiterated it in a modern playthrough, and everyone said, oh, in 2022, you can't say that anymore. Well, there you go. 100% evidence, and it's with a white child, not a black child. It's the same fucking joke that I made. All right? So there you go. There's your fucking evidence. I've had enough of that bullshit.
What was the name of the foster family that adopted
You can call me an asshole. You can call me an e-beggar. You could call me irreverent. You could say that I've said awful things over the years, but the one thing you can never accuse me of is racism, because I've never been racist ever in my life. That's bullshit.
I have never been racist ever in my life is a hell of a quote from a man who had posted his own top 10 racist moments compilation.
It's DSP's top 10 fan-voted racist remarks of 2010.
So as you've seen, it wasn't Craig that said that, it was Adam. Also, I'm not sure that pointing out that he was right about you flying off the handle and saying some egregious shit, especially when children are involved, is the W you think it is. The problem, again, at least for me, isn't the attempt at dark humor. It's that he's bad at it. Dark humor can and has been funny. It's all dependent on delivery and quality. But as we have witnessed over the years, DSP seems to think that fucked up jokes about children, other races, and women are the punchline in themselves. And just saying messed up stuff about them or the things that happen to them makes it funny. The two situations aren't even related by any metric. You can say black market, and then you can say slave trade. They're not the same thing. And no matter how you perceive it, you're speaking to an audience, and you're a public figure, and you have to consider how they will take it. Just like Adam said, if you hadn't already been canceled into oblivion and irrelevancy, this would have been something that would have blown up a lot bigger. But moving on from the side scrollers, we finally get to the end of Balding Gate 3. And man, what a trek. I'm so glad it's over. But of course, we had to end off with a little fiasco.
Area. It's re-upping the membership for 6 months, as I missed when we didn't run ads, but now it helps us. But I know it helps us. Huh?
Yeah, DSP, us. The proverbial we you love to use when referring to your audience when you're running your cult-style pig noses on them in order to weaken the Velcro on their wallets and paint your side of the internet into this us versus them corner. You don't want them referring to your business as an us operation? You should stop treating them like investors and cult members.
Yeah, so basically, if you remember, I didn't used to run any ads on my streams at all. If I did, it was a rare thing. Once or twice a stream, I would manually run. But then I would sit here and I would like overly advertise to you, and people all complained. And they said, Phil, if you could stop advertising as much, would you like run, you know, it doesn't matter if you get sponsors, you run ads. In fact, people were saying, yeah, please run ads. They were actually saying that. Hey, Phil, please run ads. And I was like, you're asking me? They were like, yeah, monetize us. Like, literally, that's what they would say. Monetize us. You're going on a break quick. Go monetize us. So I started doing it, and then YouTube enabled the auto running of ads. So it does it by itself. Okay? So that's what I've had on for months. And if you haven't noticed, I'm not really advertising that much anymore. I mean, maybe a couple of times a stream, I'll say, hey, guys, contribute if you can. Or if we have a really slow stream, I'll bring it up. I'm trying my best to really reduce the amount that I advertise on my stream, because I know how obnoxious it is. And as people have made point, if people want to contribute, they're going to figure out how to do it.
A couple points to note here. He's trying to say that he advertises less because of the ads he now runs, which means the advertising he's talking about is his begging, which might be true in some streams, but I haven't noticed much of a change over the last year or so in the beg per stream ratio. The fact that he says he's actively trying to do it less is also concerning, because it shouldn't take any effort not to beg if it wasn't something A, you don't enjoy, or B, has become so routine that it's ingrained into that gen-addled brain that begging must occur for results. I'm also really interested in seeing some receipts of people that asked him to force ads on them. Last I recall, when he started doing ads again, he had to run them on the lowest setting as a test and basically do everything he could to inch it slowly into his setup, as to not disturb the dents. As you know, they're like T-Rexes. They can only see something if it happens to move fast enough. Also, the suggestion that told him new viewers will figure out how to contribute on their own, or ask, was immediately shot down and shit on by the guy last week, so I don't know where this last part came from.
Or they're just going to ask, right? They're not going to say, we need to be reminded 17 times a day that you can contribute. People are going to figure it out, right? So I stopped doing that, but the ads are running. And I'll be honest, I make a few bucks on the ads. It's not a giant difference from when I didn't. But at the same time, it helps. Every once in, I get, especially on like a big premiere stream when there's a lot of people here on a big premiere day, typically I'll get some extra ad revenue on a stream like that that's monetized. It's not a ton, but it does help, okay? And I apologize for those who are like, oh, I don't like these ads, all right? I don't like ads either. I think ads suck. I don't want ads in my face. I strongly recommend you get YouTube Premium, all right? I'm going to tell you, again, I know, I swear to you, I'm not paid by YouTube to advertise YouTube Premium, but I really like the service, and I will tell you guys about things I actually do really like that I pay for. So with YouTube Premium, just listen to all the features you get. Number one, no ads anywhere. Done. Ads are completely gone from the site as if they don't exist, but the person who's running the ads gets credit as if you watched. So every time you watch one of my streams, if you have YouTube Premium, you're helping out this channel. Thank you for that.
Mr. Darkside also decided to don his YouTube employee cap today and chill out Premium, which I had more clips of, but for some reason refused to not crash my video editor. But this is becoming another small arc. I'm not sure if he thinks he's actually gaining anything from Premium users, but he must. Otherwise, why waste the oxygen?
That's just a few of the features. Some people have told me, I guess, for your first month when you become a YouTube Premium member, you also get a free membership to a YouTube channel. I haven't confirmed that. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but it may be worth a look if you look into it.
I'm surprised he hasn't looked into this, because Prime subs were essentially the biggest part of his channel on Twitch outside of tips. But regardless, this has already been debunked and can be done so again with a single Google search. You are granted a single month to use to sub to any channel with Premium. It's not an ongoing thing. So calm down, Phil. The money isn't going to start rolling in like it did during your Twitch days. And to anyone who cares, for the love of God, do not get Premium. Adblock is free.
So basically, give it a look. And again, I recommend it. It's not that expensive. I think depending on where you live, it's anywhere from like $10 to $20 a month. I think here in the US, it's like $16 a month. I pay for it every month. It's why we're able to do shows like DSP Reacts, DSP versus the internet, or the new Retro React show, and see no ads because I have that service. And it's just super duper good.
With the shilling segment over from Mr. Doesn't Shill, we have moved on finally to some of my favorite news from the week. Helsin forcing himself on DSP and the absolute meltdown it gave him. This was a ride for me because his takes made me laugh, annoyed me, and pissed me off almost simultaneously.
The hate army troll.
It's the hate army,
bro.
Hate army.
Shout out to hate.
Good vibes to the
Shout
hate
out to
army.
hate.
Shout out to hate.
Shout out
Shout
for
out to
hate.
Shout out to hate.
Shout out for
Shout
hate.
out for hate.
Helsin was eager to leave the city after the Netherbrain fell, although you remained for a 10-day to help the wounded. Some of them accompanied you when you left. Their homes were rubble, and the promise of a sanctuary sheltered from the city was appealing. They helped to build the place you now call home, hidden from those who are not welcome, open to any who need shelter. One day, Helsin returns from a patrol of the borders with a letter held in his jaw.
What?
You read it.
What?
As you
scratch behind his ear?
What? Gathering of your friends and allies.
Who approved this?
The absolute. The gathering will not be in the city that you saved, though.
What?
It will be where your adventures together.
Gee, thanks, Larian. I'm sure I chose this one. What happened?
So I haven't really played BG3 since almost all of the updates and fixes, so I reached out to some people who are more familiar with how he ended up here, and I got this feedback. It was just a natural consequence of him, 1. Refuting female party members' advances, 2. Being nice to Helsin, and 3. Excommunicating party members outright like Asterion. Yet he acts as though it's a glitch resulting from the game not being able to keep up with all its parts, or whatever the hell that means. I actually think it's funnier that he naturally got the gay ending without anyone really hoof-holding him to it. The game read Dave's psyche and he didn't like what he saw, end quote.
Hey!
Thou wert called here, some from above, some below.
For with thine bond,
They're getting married?
together thou hast kept the wheel of fate spinning when it
What?
threatened to halt. Though thou wert
It's a
drawn
fucking
far
wedding.
apart
What?
in the months after the collapse of the absolute.
What is
Tonight,
happening?
fate renews thy bond.
Oh my
once
God.
more. Thou shouldst take
How did
care
this
to
happen?
preserve it. It is a great weapon.
Forced
wielded in
romance
the
ending.
hand of good.
What?
Go.
What
Know
the
one
fuck?
another once more.
What the fuck just happened? Right.
I cannot remember the last time I heard the
What the fuck? How the hell? So are you literally forced no matter what? The game just randomly selects someone, basically. And apparently I'm getting married to Helsin. Isn't that great? It seems like it. It says that I was scratching behind his ear, so you tell me what that means, right? All right.
Now we get to behold DSP go through several stages of grief and cope all over the Helsin marriage, while also proclaiming not to be bothered by it. While it's also pretty much the biggest segment and point of conversation of this entire stream, mixed in with one of the worst takes I've ever heard.
Okay. So where we're sitting now, this campsite is my home even when I'm far away. Helsin is home to me. I told you guys. You keep saying that there's no romance. There is. Literally, here's another fucking dialogue option. Helsin is home to me. The game forced a homosexual relationship on my character, even though I didn't choose it. It forced it on me anyway. So that's pretty fucked up. Imagine if I was a serious role player and I was trying to be serious. You know what I'm saying? And then the game did this to me, I'd be upset. Personally, I don't give a shit. I think that the game is flawed in a lot of ways, and the romancing is one of them. That's a huge fucking flaw. I never chose this whatsoever, and the game just did it anyway without my permission. So the game essentially is like a sexual predator that just does what it wants with your character without permission. That's nice, because someone could contact Larian and tell them that that's actually fucked up.
I don't know why it seems odd to me that he points out that it's a homosexual relationship rather than a relationship, since he was trying to dodge them all together, and then follows up by calling a fucking game a sexual predator, and then insists someone should call up Larian and tell them about it? How about you do it, DSP, if your ass is so chapped over this literal nothing of an event? Literally like those regarded ass gaming news articles that were getting pumped out about teabagging being the equivalent of fucking rape. I'm not trying to make this more than it is, but this is some of the most brain-dead shit I've ever heard to date.
And that some people might have serious problems with that. That what if they wanted to have a character a certain build or a certain way, and they ruined their roleplay with the fucking game? That's pretty fucked up, actually. Personally, I'm lucky I don't care. You know, but some people might.
I don't know about you guys, but when I don't care about something, I either generally don't realize it's there or happening. And even if I do, I don't continue to address it for minutes, let alone hours. Clearly, I believe this does bug DSP, which of course is speculation, but every bone in my body is telling me he is giving off indicators that are telling a very different story than the sounds being projected from his flubberous maw.
Anyway, I'll say this campsite is my home, sure. Yeah, this is pretty fucked up. I'm not gonna lie. That's really messed up that the game would force you into something like that. What a great game, huh? 140 hours and they fuck you over.
It smells so good here.
I guess we gotta talk to Helsin, who I never initiated a romance with.
You would think someone of my vintage would be inured to the passage of time. Yet these past 6 months have seemed endless without your company. But now, our paths cross once more.
Let me guess, as nature intended, the feeling's mutual, I missed you. Honestly, time's flown by. You sound sentimental considering we didn't really get along. This game is fucked up. There were 3 dialogue options with the other people saying you were romantic with Helsin. Here you can say you didn't get along. The game is fucked up. I keep telling you, this ending is stupid and the thing's fucked up. It makes no sense whatsoever, right? I'll just do the pun just as nature intended.
For I feel the longing for old friends in my heart each day.
Right. Exactly. It says you haven't seen him for 6 months, but apparently you guys live together, as you just said in other dialogue. But again, you see, this is the point that I've been having across this whole game. This game has what I call too many moving parts. When you have so much going on, it's a convoluted story with tons of different subplots and dialogue choices. The combat has a million things going on all at once. The game is almost living and breathing, but because of that, things break down. And this is one of them definitely right here that's just not working. It has no clue if you're actually in a relationship with this guy or not. It has no idea what it's doing right now. It's really, really stupid. And again, if I were role-playing and I really cared about this game more than just, oh, it's a game I played, like if this were, I was really into D&D, I was into Baldur's Gate, if I was sad that this was going to be the last Baldur's Gate made by Larian, I'd be pissed right now. I'd be like, why did they fuck the ending up, right? Sounds like you need a hug, sounds like you need a drink.
I'm sure a lot of you have played D&D and are fully aware that Baldur's Gate is hardly an entity in most campaigns. I've played all 3 of the Baldur's Gate games and their expansions now, and never have they been relevant to enjoying D&D, nor am I sad that this is the last game Larian will make in the franchise. Mostly because I know the decision is a wise one given how WOTC has been behaving over the last few years, but that's besides the point. I let him cook a bit longer here just so we could get him to reveal his real thoughts about the game, calling it stupid and convoluted. It's really interesting watching him try and talk out both sides of his mouth when it comes to this title for no reason other than to appease the dents who bankrolled it.
Hidalgo says, canonically, Helsin always goes back to the Act 2 lands. He takes care of orphans and stuff. He's like a park ranger. Maybe it was implying you were hanging out because you're maidenless. No, definitely not. If you didn't read the dialogue earlier, it was pretty blatantly romantic stuff, right? Oh my god. May I have a hug? I wouldn't say no to a kiss. This is hilarious because they're not romantic, but they still give you these options. I'm just gonna say I'm out of here. Fuck this.
Before you go, I have something for you. Just a little keepsake.
Oh, I don't want it. You
Do
keep
you remember
it.
how I told you I like to whittle? I made
You
this.
could shove that up your ass. Good place for it. Actually, it's probably where he had it.
Ducks are my favorite.
What else is there to say? He essentially said it himself. He's prone to making jokes about scat and asses though, so who knows? Maybe he was just reverting back to his typical middle school style humor. But again, this comes off as homophobic to me a bit.
He whittled a duck?
I thought they were particularly fitting in
He
this case.
whittled you a duck.
They are migratory birds, of course, traveling far and wide with the turn of the seasons.
Oh my god. He whittled you a duck.
They always find their way back to where they belong. Just like old friends find themselves back in each other's company.
Like, oh, look, it's lovely. Here, watch it float. He whittled you a duck. This may fetch a modest price from a merchant with poor taste. I'm going to say, you're a sentimental creature at heart, you know that?
Oh, I am well aware, trust me. Now, I've taken
Oh
up
my
enough of your
god.
time. Go on, enjoy the festivities.
This guy is something else, man. I got a whittled duck.
I certainly hope this isn't how he approaches people in real life. I'm not sure what's so funny about someone taking the time and effort to whittle you a gift, but he seems to find it actually hilarious. Something tells me he might be a bit uncomfortable here. I'm not going to try and draw any comparisons to real life from this interaction with an NPC, but it is very classless, and it gets just a wee bit worse.
A duck whittled out of wood. It smells of the deep forest. Hey, Scratch. I got something for you, boy. Hey, Scratchy. Hold on, boy. I got something for you. You ready? You gotta look at this. Look at this new thing I got. Here you go. Ready, boy? And go fetch. Go ahead, boy.
And with that, we say goodbye to Baldur's Gate 3, and thank fuck for that. But before we can move on entirely, One Minute Man had something to say to Big Daddy Philip, and it was, as Atlas put it, ominous. Albeit we're far enough in the future now that realize nothing came from it. Yet.
Oh. Okay, so hold on. It's 1 Minute Man. He tipped $10. He has an update on the Asterian situation, I believe. Let's see what he has to say. Thank you for the $10 tip, 1 Minute Man. Is that the biggest tip of the day so far? It is. Let's get him on the leaderboard. Okay, so he says, I rewatched your segment from a few days back, the I Got Robbed segment, where Asterion stole my stuff. He says, I wanted to find out why you didn't get an option for a happy ending and avoiding frustration. It turns out you locked yourself out of that conversation with Asterion like you did with Saravok. In part 42 of the playthrough, okay, 25 minutes, 46 seconds in, I chose option 1. All right, what do you need? All right.
This is a true dent to the core. If you can take the time to go through and find a specific dialogue option DSP chose by going through his mess of mass uploaded content and provide him with a timestamp for a specific interaction, you are in way too deep. 1 minute man, I don't say this lightly, but do touch grass.
Expresses agreement in this context. When you went back on your word and you didn't help him, you pissed him off. If you had chosen option 2, you can't finish the ritual, you'll kill all these people, you would have been given the opportunity to persuade Asterion. That would still be in your party. Nobody dies except Cazador, and all prisoners go free to live in the Underdark. Everyone in your party is proud of Asterion, a really happy and satisfying outcome. Wow. So just think about that. Because of an arbitrary conversation choice that I made in part 42 of a 133-part playthrough, some, 100 hours later, that choice is somehow remembered by the game engine, and I'm screwed out of having a happy ending.
Arbitrary, based on random choice or personal whim rather than any reason or system. While that definition might apply to how you made your choice in-game, it doesn't define the option itself. The fact that you forgot you made a promise to a character and then fell through on your obligation isn't a fault of the writing or coding. In fact, it's very impressive that things like that can come back up later on in the story, and actually a very commendable feat done by the team behind it. But is it ever Phil's fault? Well, you've probably seen this clip a few times, so 1 minute man is about to find out.
Who would have even thought, back then that you're not understanding what you're saying or that it has any repercussions or what it means, right? Right? So, yeah, that's kind of, I'll be honest, I think that's kind of silly that you're locking yourself out of content later for something you did early in the game, okay? Anyway, I received another $10 tip, of course, from 1 minute man. And he continues on with this. He says, in conclusion, the dialogue would allow for Asterion to actually have a very positive and satisfying character arc, which would make him a better and mature person. Your choice of dialogue brings out the worst in him, so you end up losing a useful companion, and worse because he has your good stuff, which rightfully belongs to him. I disagree. He has been fighting alongside you, putting his life on the line. You expect him to leave butt naked? No, I think, like I said, there should be an option to hash it out. Either he keeps it all, you keep it all, or there's a compromise option, or you fight for it, as I explained last week when we went over that. If I were him, I would have left you nothing. Maybe there's a lesson to be learned. Be careful how you talk to people. Choose your words carefully. You may lose someone important to you in life. That's how it works.
1 minute man is correct here. He fucked up, and he fucked up bad. There's no going back, getting another chance at this level of freedom for Asterion. He was stuck in a place of fear that he establishes he is in a constant state of throughout the game. There was no reason for him to speak to Phil after that betrayal. I suppose the option to attack him while he's leaving could be there, but then where's the real consequence for your actions other than losing that character? The impact this moment had on DSP was obviously far greater because of the loss of his items, and that holds huge merit because through his bitching and moaning you can tell it actually evoked emotion, and that's what any good work of art should strive to do.
Fair enough. Maybe it's a life lesson, or maybe it's just a really annoying arbitrary line early in the game that you have no idea the repercussions of because of the way that they coded the game. But, well, thank you very much, 1 minute man. I appreciate that this morning. Okay.
Yeah, thank you 1 minute man, you stupid moron idiot, because you're wrong and Phil's right, and you wasted a chunk of change to get that revelation. As we like to say around these parts, get a spoon. With 1 minute man well and truly debunked, that's all for BG3, and I hope the fuck I don't have to talk about it again for a long time. Moving on, we got some of DSP's thoughts on the gaming industry, specifically some statements made by Phil Spencer of Xbox and the state of Ubisoft.
It has bad graphics, quick time animations. It just has the feeling that it has that that gameplay loop of resource gathering, right? And just repetition. There's nothing fun about the game at all. It's pathetically bad. So, are you shocked that Skull and Bones is $40 only 1 month after release? And by the way, again, this is Yves Guillemot, the CEO, when they said, can you justify the $70 price tag of your game? and he said, oh, it's not even a AAA game, it's a quadruple A game. The guy is a jackass who literally should not have his job. There should be someone else in charge of a game company that's in touch with gamers and what they want, because he's going to keep hurting not only his own company, but the games industry as a whole if he keeps driving this thing off the cliff. He's an idiot.
For once, I agree with DSP. Gamoa has been saying some really anti-gamer shit over the last few years, and Ubisoft hasn't really done anything new or interesting in a dog's age. And when they do, like with Phoenix Rising, it tanks. I'm cool with this though, because the gaming industry is long overdue for a big crash and burn.
Our final news story of today is that Phil Spencer was interviewed. And here's what he said. You ready? The layoffs that have happened at Activision are necessary because Xbox is a business and it somehow has to be profitable. He thinks that the console market is currently not growing and that Xbox's brand pivot to games on more than one platform is a path to growth.
Now, DSP is going to go in on Spencer like he knows more about how business and investing works than the CEO of Xbox. I don't stand multimillionaires and CEOs in general, but I like Spencer to a degree. He's far more transparent than most CEOs in the gaming landscape, as he was when he talked about the failure of Redfall. He's not about exclusivity and actively works to get more games on other platforms. Game Pass has been a genius idea if you ask me, and he genuinely seems to be for making games accessible in general and doesn't disregard PC players. It's just refreshing to see someone at least pretend to care and sound like they actually might when it comes to games.
Allow me now to read word for word what he said, and then I'm actually going to give you my opinions on this. So here's his first big statement. I will say every decision we make today and tomorrow is for the better of Xbox, said Spencer. I know sometimes things get weaponized and there's some evil in the background that's making us do things. Phil hates exclusives. That's why we're like we're on PlayStation and Switch now. Every decision we make is to make Xbox stronger in the long run. It doesn't mean everyone's going to agree with every decision that we make, but it is fundamental for how we make decisions. This notion that Xbox can only be this one device that plugs into a television isn't something we see in the Gen Z research, because nothing else is like that for them. Some of them will have an iPhone, some have an Android, but all of the games on everything are the same. I can still get to TikTok on both of those devices, at least for now. All of their stuff is available wherever you want. So for Xbox, our brand pivot as we attract and maintain relevance with a younger audience is Xbox is a place where I can find the great games that I want. It's a little bit of both, said Spencer, but I'll say the thing that has me most concerned for the industry is the lack of growth. When you have an industry that is projected to be smaller next year in terms of players and dollars, and you get a lot of publicly traded companies that are in the industry that have to show their investors growth, because why else does someone own a share of someone's stock if it's not going to grow? The side of the business that then gets scrutinized is the cost side. Because if you're not going to grow the revenue side, then the cost side becomes challenged. We're a business. I said this over and over. I don't get any luxury of not having to run a profitable, growing business inside of Microsoft. And we are that today. But just across the industry, you mentioned it. And in sitting here at GDC, because this was at Game Developers Conference where he was being interviewed, I reflect on friends of mine in the industry that have been displaced and have lost their jobs. And how I don't want this industry to be a place where people just can't with confidence build a career. So that's why I keep pivoting back to how does this industry get back to growth? But to your question, for us at Xbox or any of the teams that are out there, is it really an outcome of an industry that's not growing? It can grow and it will grow again, but you see this time right now and the implications have human impact and we should all reflect on that and think about it. Well, first of all, Mr. Spencer, it's not our job to reflect on it and think about it. It's yours.
That's not entirely true. That's a consumer mindset. We affect every market with how we spend our money, including the jobs within those markets. Are we responsible to buy every piece of trash that hits a GameStop shelf because some QA guy might lose his job? Absolutely not. But it is something to consider. When I consider it, I believe that the gaming industry has really screwed itself because it's in a constant need of infinite growth, which is a physical impossibility, and uses line not go up high enough as a constant excuse to use and then fire employees. Phil, on the other hand, just sees what most consumers see as not my problem.
You're in charge. You're the one who's responsible. So if you're not growing, why? And if you can't figure that out, step down. It's that simple. You're in charge of the ship. If the ship is going off the edge of a waterfall and everyone's about to drown, and you're the one controlling the ship, do you think maybe someone else should take the reins?
If someone else takes the reins, I can tell you it'll be someone worse than Spencer. He's been keeping it real while companies like Ubisoft pull that quadruple A bullshit, or Unity puts the loot box guy in charge of their operations, and lose a load of people using their software after he tries to screw them over. Apparently Phil has been living under a rock if he hasn't seen what kinds of people have been moving up to positions of power in the gaming industry. But I like to imagine he's thinking they'll reach out to him and be like, "Oh, Phil, your resume in gaming is so pristine. You have the freshest takes and the most robust content. With your business acumen, we can't think of anyone better to run Xbox straight down into the core of the earth."
I'm just saying, like, you're in charge. We should all sit back and reflect. That's your fucking job. That's who you are. Literally, that's your position, right? So when you hear shit like this, it's PR speak. What is he saying? We're a company and companies need to make money. And if we're not making money, we still have to make money. So we have to cut people. Wrong. Wrong. That's completely incorrect. Okay? People invest in companies for long-term results. People don't immediately invest in stock and think, tomorrow I'm making a profit. That's not even the point. Someone who's a smart investor goes for a long-term investment. Sometimes you'll invest in a stock that's a long shot, but you think that projected down the line, it'll get some money and you'll make a big gain on it, right? People don't buy a stock thinking tomorrow I'll make money. He's literally saying, well, if we don't just make money immediately right now, right, no one will ever invest in us ever again. That's completely fucking false.
This is completely true, actually. Anyone who's been keeping an eye on the gaming industry knows how volatile its stock market is. Right now, according to gamesindustry.biz, share prices have taken a hit. If we look at the UK stock market for a minute, since the start of the year we've had a hefty drop from all the floated companies. Team 17, down 41%. Frontier, down 74%. Devolver Digital, down 59%. Tiny Build, down 92%. And Keywords, down 52%. And also we have historical evidence after CDPR's stock tanked nearly to half its original value after the launch of Cyberpunk 2077, which is another grave even DSP danced on, so he should know as well as anyone else what he's saying is short-sighted and stupid.
I mean, like, it's insane what he's saying. Literally, it's nonsensical. This is complete short-term thought that doesn't work for any kind of a long-term industry. He's making judgments in his company and, you know, everything Xbox based off of we must make immediate profits now no matter what. And that's not how a good business operates at all. There should be a long-term plan in effect that you can prove to investors it's worth it to come invest with us. Here's why. I have this in place, this in place, this in place, this in place. Not, oh, well, right now the whole industry is seeing some shrink. So therefore, we have to cut all of our jobs so we can still pay out money to the shareholders.
I'm not a business style guy, but that makes sense to me. If the shareholder is expecting a certain amount of return and you're looking to retain those shareholders and not get into some shit with them legally, you have to get the money from somewhere. And unfortunately for us, it just so happens that employees are the most disposable money sacks in the industry. This guy has a business degree though, so I'm probably wrong.
That's pretty insane, don't you think? That drives me bonkers. That you have people in charge. I mean, I've already had issue with Phil Spencer over the years with some of the dumb things he said. I keep telling you guys, you can't trust the guy because he's essentially just like we just said, he's a salesman. He's not a CEO. He's not a leader. He's a salesman. He's put there to the forefront to push stuff. And then when it all fails, he just smoke and mirrors you to a different direction or something else and makes up an excuse or whatever. It's nonsense. The guy's a joke. I mean, why is Xbox right now, even though they have comparable hardware to the PlayStation 5, why are they so far behind this console gen? Can you think of a reason to have an Xbox besides Game Pass? I mean, Game Pass is a great value. I like the Xbox controller better than the PS5 controller. But if all games are on both consoles, and PS5 has a few awesome exclusives, why would you not want the PS5? Correct? So unless he can fucking figure out a reason to own his console, there will always be a downturn of console sales this generation. I mean, it's his fault. I honestly don't know why people like him so much. Why? Because he has a smile. Because he, again, because he looks like a friendly guy. Again, because he looks like a friendly college guy who wants to hang out with you and play video games. He was in charge of Microsoft during the Xbox One era, and now the Xbox Series S and X era when it's on a downturn. You understand? And the thing he just said there blows my mind. He says, so we want people to think of Xbox as the place to play all the good games, but it doesn't have to be a console. Then what the fuck is it, you idiot? What is it? What are you talking about? Are you a third-party developer, or are you a first-party company that has a console that people want to play games on?
I'd like some examples of the things that burn Phil's ass when it comes to this guy. You'd think Spencer was a personal detractor of his after a rant like this over such a nothing statement. None of this is news, and none of this is out of the ordinary for the industry. I think he might just be upset that gamers like Spencer and not him, but who knows. Moving on from this boring segment of business speak that I'm sure the Dents were elated to get from their glorious leader, and I'm sorry I had to put you guys through, we got a little segment about his anniversary, which just screams how much he loves and adores Ket.
Am I doing anything special for Easter? No. In fact, my wife and I had forgotten that this Sunday was Easter, and then we went out yesterday, and every store had Easter stuff in it. We're like, oh, crap, yeah, that's right. Right now, we're trying to figure out if we're even going to do anything for our anniversary. It's our 5th wedding anniversary this year. And we're like, when is it? Oh, yeah, April 10th. Maybe we should have a day off that day and go out and do something. It's like our lives are so hectic with all the stuff that we're busy with that we forget about shit 90% of the time. I literally would not remember my own birthday unless I did a stream of it. Seriously, like I wouldn't even think or remember when my birthday was unless we were doing an event on that day, right? So I think we're going to do something. We were talking about, regardless if we have the actual anniversary day off or another day that week, we're probably going to go out to dinner somewhere nice that day. We're trying to figure it out right now. Okay.
I know I don't need to tell you, if you've been around the Vortex for any longer than a year, that he never forgets his birthday. He counted the days down once before because he gets so hyped to get wailed out like he does every year, and I'm excited to see him pull out some buffoonery like he does every year. But I'm really glad we got a segment about the anniversary and how insignificant it seems to the guy. To wrap this video up, I saved some toxicity and ranting at the audience, which if you ask me were just some LARPers who saw a weak spot and kept jabbing. And he kept falling for the bait, so let's just enjoy the ride.
So there you go. Now, for all the people spamming FF7 in the chat, you can shut up right now because we've already discussed this. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth did absolutely poorly here on DSP Gaming. All right? I played about 20 hours, and it did not do well at all. People were not showing up for the streams. They were not engaging. They were falling asleep and talking about unrelated things and actually saying it was boring when they watched me play it.
Yeah, I imagine they were saying that because you're boring. Oh wait, no, the last time someone said that, you banned them. Never mind, that can't be right.
As I enjoy RPGs, they kill this business. Literally, Baldur's Gate 3 hurt this channel badly for the last 2 months. I want you to understand that. That was a sacrifice to get through an insane game like that, and I'm not playing long games like that ever again. I can't. They don't fit my formula, all right? Even if they came out with Baldur's Gate 4 tomorrow, I would not be playing it. I cannot play these kind of games anymore. They don't work. Okay?
It was a sacrifice to beat a game you obviously detested and it hurt the business? I thought it was Argentina that hurt the business. Now it's BG3? Can you make up your mind? I'm starting to go cross-eyed trying to track all the various detractors that are destroying your quote-unquote business. You did this to yourself, just so detractors couldn't say you rage quit another Larian game, like you did with Divinity Original Sin 2. And it probably didn't hurt that you had dick holders and whales keeping it afloat. So how is this a sacrifice?
For as much as people came by the streams and supported them, the channel itself has dipped so badly. I'm not kidding you when I'm telling you I am down thousands of dollars a month. Compared to before I started Baldur's Gate 3, this channel has dipped in views and support by thousands of dollars a month. So you may think, oh, but the streams do well, and the streams are great. But that's not a business. That's half of the business. One side has done good and the other side has completely faltered because of Baldur's Gate 3. Literally, that's the cause and effect reason it's happened. Okay? So I can't do that shit anymore. I can't. I'm not going to be doing this kind of insane stuff anymore, killing this channel. All right?
It's always thousands of dollars with this guy if you haven't noticed. Like how when the shower head broke in one of his bathrooms and he said it would cost thousands to fix, or he needed new curtains and they would cost thousands. He's constantly in the quadruple digits. He's living a quadruple A lifestyle.
All right, Cream Sardine, would you like me to ban you now or later? Because I just said I don't want anyone bitching about this, and you're bitching, and I've had enough. I've had enough. I'm not going to have anyone bitching about Final Fantasy VII. At all. Zero. Every complaint I get about it, I'm going to say shut up, because I'm not killing my business over this. And if you say it another time, I'm going to ban you, because I've just had enough of this entitlement. Oh, I just want what I want, nothing else, and I'm going to sit here and whine and complain. But I just told you the rationale of why we're not doing it. Respect that. No, I want it anyway. Shut the fuck up now. Now I'm telling you, shut the fuck up. I literally just had my channel dying for 4 fucking months. I'm not doing it again because you're going to be entitled about it. All right? I understand if you like Final Fantasy VII. Personally, I was liking the game too. I was disappointed with the reception it got on my streams. It was way low viewership, way low engagement, way low support. And I was like, wow, I was shocked. I thought it was going to do way better than it did. And to the point where I was like, well, if anything goes onto a hold status, it has to be this game because it's just not doing well, you know? So I don't want to hear the whining. I'm the one trying to have a business here, you know, doing variety content. This is not DSP RPG. And I'm not playing RPGs nonstop all year. I'm just not doing it. I can't do it. I will go out of fucking business. You understand me? I will.
So through all that toxicity, he is telling us that RPGs will run him out of business, even though he was getting whaled out? I'm not really following how this makes sense here. He says he doesn't care about views, but the dip in views hurt him even though he was getting the tips? Or was it the memberships? How are the memberships now RPG's fault when it was the fact that they were Argentinian style? I'm not sure what kind of losses he's actually looking at, but I don't doubt he has taken some kind of hit, but I don't believe for a moment that it's RPG based.
This would be the equivalent, and I know you love the food references, right? You go into a restaurant and they used to serve your favorite dish. For some reason, they just can't serve it anymore. So, if they're not serving the dish you don't like, you stand in the restaurant and scream at the top of your lungs, why don't you serve the dish? Why don't you serve the dish? Why don't you serve the dish? Or do you leave and go somewhere else?
For someone who's constantly complaining about declining viewership and support, he is always the first one to come out the gate and tell you to go somewhere else. I'm not even sure what remains of his real audience, but it can't be too many. And for those that are still there, they must not understand that this is a direct slight against them, their requests and feedback that he is constantly begging for. When you're paying this man's bills, you should demand more respect or move on. He left the door open, and you should use it.
I promise I'm not trying to be ungrateful or troll. I'm curious. You were adamant this last month about finishing Like a Dragon, even though it barely got any support and bad viewership. So why do you not care about finishing Final Fantasy as much, especially because it's the second part of a trilogy that you may want to finish up in the future? When do you consider returning to it in a dead period? You were so early in the game, and many of us are still looking forward to it. Well, I already answered this a million times, so let me answer it again. I like the game a lot, and I actually want to continue it, and I would probably continue it in the future, so I don't know why you're asking that, because I've already said that I probably would. But it would have to be a time when we're not playing other RPGs, because I'm not doing RPG overload again. I don't want to play more than one RPG at one time anymore, because it's just too much, and it's too much for the channel, and it makes the views go down, it makes the engagement go down, and people are tired of it. In regards to Like a Dragon, this was a game that I was planning on playing for many years. I couldn't wait for it to come out. When it came out, I was very excited for it, but of course, it's a late-night stream, and people don't really like the late-night streams as much. It's more of a chill vibe than anything else, and it's not really a moneymaker for me. It never really was intended to be that, but I knew that I wanted to play it because I like the franchise so much. It's funny because everyone's like, just quit Like a Dragon, but it's like, but I already played Like a Dragon for 2 months. I'm not going to drop it after 2 months. I'm going to play it and finish it at the end, and then Final Fantasy VII comes out, and it performs just like a Dragon. Well, why don't you play Final Fantasy VII with Like a Dragon? Well, because I like a Dragon more than Final Fantasy VII, so I want to play with Like a Dragon and finish Like a Dragon because I'm 2 months into it. Okay.
Here we go. Not funny. Dickens left.
Haley says, oh my god. I have to repeat this again. Listen, why are you making a compromise for Like a Dragon but not Final Fantasy VII? Because Like a Dragon came out first and I invested more time in it. I just answered the fucking question. Could you please, if you're going to be on a chat and you're going to be like watching a stream, before you ask a question, could you make sure that you don't have anything lodged in your ears so you can hear when I speak?
For having been a streamer for as long as he has, he clearly doesn't realize that people pop into streams at different intervals and sometimes have the same questions. Or possibly that half is chat, if not more, is LARPers, and they like seeing him lose his shit, and right now they see a perfect opportunity to provoke the pig roach and send him into a spiraling frenzy.
Haley says, your answer was cut off by a commercial. Why did you curse at me? Because you could have hit rewind on the live stream and listened to the answer already. It's the most stupid thing I've ever heard. The streams on YouTube, you can rewind them to hear answers. A commercial doesn't make any difference. You're full of it. Nice try, though. That's a really nice attempt to recover there. It didn't work, though. Lucky Gremlin, I swear, like, again, you're not listening. People just don't listen to me. Why don't you listen to me? The one thing I will say is, here's the one thing I'm happy about. Because I want you to understand, guys, that even though a lot of the things I say, no, 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 I want you to understand that I appreciate the fact that you want me to play all this stuff. People want me to play Final Fantasy VII. They want me to play Helldivers 2. They want me to play. That is so much better. It's much better to be in demand, right, than to not. I'm so appreciative of that. Even though I get frustrated when you guys want me to play 20 different games at once and I can't do it, at least the demand is there to see me play the games. You want to see me do this stuff, and I appreciate that so much, because the opposite is worse. It's way worse to be forgotten, that no one cares.
Even though I shoot down everything you guys recommended me and the suggestions I've begged for, I appreciate you guys allowing me to yell and scream at you for giving me the things I want. It really makes being a toxic asshole on YouTube worth the time. Ack. Well, this is me signing off. Thank you guys for being here. Sorry for breaking character the whole video. I haven't been feeling 100% with all the traveling I'm doing, but hopefully we'll be back to doing the thing as soon as possible. As always, you are appreciated, have a good week, and don't let the bastards grind you down.